That is one of the things that I love about our school is that our kids get the opportunity to put those things into practice, whether it is, like for instance, in our senior year, we do an econ fair. They have to start at the beginning of the year, they start the process of forming their own business. And by the Friday before Thanksgiving, when it's Grandparents' Day, they take that business, they set up their table, and they get to sell their product to all those grandparents and all the parents and all the teachers and the lower school kids that are walking around campus that day. And it's taken them everywhere from business launch to taxes to marketing. And they're bringing in money and they're paying out money for all the different elements of that, from table placement to advertising and those types of things. So it gives them a real life experience. Our kids get to go on a week-long missions trip as well, to where the things that they're hearing and seeing and learning within the history class, the Bible class, within that chapel experience, they're getting to walk that out for that missions week. So I think giving our kids the opportunity to live out the things they're learning in the classroom is the most important element of that critical thinking.
Welcome to the McKinney Podcast, the show that celebrates what makes McKinney unique by nature. This podcast exists to spotlight the people, the organizations, and the events that shape our great city. You can count on every episode to tell a compelling story and help increase your awareness and perspective on what's happening around McKinney. Your hosts for this fun-filled adventure are Fred Mahusay, owner of FredShots Photography, and James Jenkins, CEO of RiskWell. Connect with us on YouTube and on our website, McKinneyPodcast.com. Now, let's get into it. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the McKinney Podcast. We celebrate what makes us unique by nature. And Fred is here joining me. Fred took one solo after I took one solo.
That's right.
This is our one and only episode, this block, being here together. And we get, is it Givens or Nivens? Nivens. I don't know why I keep wanting to call you Givens. That's not your name. It's Nivens.
There's somebody in the past that you've connected with that.
I'm telling you. Now, so our guest for this episode is the headmaster of McKinney Christian Academy, Mr. Heath Nivens. Welcome, Heath.
Thank you. Thanks, James. Thanks, Fred, for having me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming on.
You know, I almost felt like I owed the MCA community an apology because we have done so much in the vein of education. Fred and I have both been very involved with McKinney Education Foundation on the public side. We both did the fundraiser thing. We've had, school board, we've had superintendent, we've had valedictorians. We've never featured MCA. We've never featured Serenity High either, the alternative high school for at-risk, secondary folks. And
we're still young and growing, though.
We have made inroads with Serenity, and we'll have them on
That's right.
as soon as the timing works out. But here you are, representing McKinney Christian Academy.
Well, and Fred, to your point, we say we're young and growing as well. So we've 33 years we've been here.
It's like 3 decades.
And so it's almost at times where it's enough history to fall back on, but still you're paving new roads. Sometimes it seems like every day, especially as our school grows and we step into maturity and launch some new efforts and endeavors. And so no apology needed. I'm glad to be here.
Man, every episode we like to start out with the human side of things. Just get whatever sort of background, whatever sort of history you feel is interesting or relevant to the conversation. I'd love to hear about Heath and your background, how you got to this chapter of your life, and then obviously we'll pivot to MCA and then the community stuff after that.
So this is our 4th year here in McKinney. My wife, Kristen, and son, Cullen, he's in the 10th grade at MCA. We came here from Florida, where we had been for the last 15 years.
Oh, we're in Florida.
And so we were in Jacksonville for 12.
Oh, North Florida.
West Palm Beach for 3.
South. Okay.
And so we got both sides of the state there.
Yeah, but the East Coast, though, no West Coast?
Between the two of you guys, you got Florida pretty well covered.
That's right, yes.
Mr. Tampa over here.
Well,
That's right.
So here's what's funny. When we go back now to visit, that's where we always go. We end up somewhere near Tampa. That's an area that we love. It's a beautiful area.
You know what they say, east is least and west is best.
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you, I probably would agree with them in some ways, especially in Florida.
I just like the calmer water. I don't surf any of those things. And when I go in the water, I want, gentle lapping waves, not these pounding, crushing things that are always there.
That's been the one thing we've missed since our move is where can we gain some access to water? And so
Good luck with that.
Yeah. If you're not going to Lake Texoma or somewhere else, and
that
it's a
travesty. They try to call a beach down in Galveston.
Yeah. Have you been down to the beaches
I have
there?
been.
Yeah,
I've been
it's-
once.
Beach.
Let's
with
just
air
say
quotes.
we make other opportunities now, other
Yeah,
plans.
testify. Same with us.
exactly
It's
right.
like, this is the beach.
At
Like,
the,
this
at the
is not
risk of
beach.
offending my fellow Texans, that ain't no beach.
No.
So no, we do enjoy going back. That's not home for Kristen or myself. I'm from South Carolina originally. She's from Pennsylvania. We met at the University of South Carolina. We both were college athletes, and we met in a class our senior year. I won't tell you who made the higher grade. That's still an issue in our home.
That answers my very first question. The moment you hear
right.
that someone's from South Carolina, is it, are you a Gamecock or are you a Tiger?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Gamecock.
We are Gamecocks all the way.
Okay, awesome.
So we have a little connection there then because, SEC, right?
What sport did you play?
And Steve Spurrier.
So I played football, and she
Okay.
swam.
So are you young enough to have been around with the entrance phenomenon, with the whole Enter Sandman thing?
Okay, so that got started. The whole towel waving and sandstorm piece got started after I was there. Now, 2001 has been there for a long time, the entrance into the stadium pregame. So I did get to experience that. But on the sandstorm side, I can only say that I've participated in that as a fan.
Chills.
It's pretty amazing.
If that's not the best entrance hype.
I will tell you,
I
it's
mean-
like we go back. We do a lot more road games now with them coming this way.
Sure.
But we go back usually at least once a year. My son loves it, and obviously that's home for us. And inevitably now it's like a party for 4 quarters when you go to a football game. So hopefully they can get their act together and enjoy a much better season this year than they had last. But we do enjoy going back and kind of pulling for your college team and living vicariously through what's going on the field. But it's there's not a whole lot of Gamecocks out here in Texas.
Just give it some time. I'm sure they're out here. I didn't think there were a lot of Gators out here until all of a sudden I realized there's a lot of Gators out here.
Yeah.
But in terms of hopefully we'll have a better season. Been saying that for a long time. Orange and
I
blue,
can identify.
just bleeding.
I went to undergrad at Stephen F. Austin and then graduate school afterwards, and our football team was not very good. We got to be there for the one and only 0-11 game in a season ever.
Wow.
And we had T-shirts made that year, undefeated or undewinded. Sorry, undewinded. We also had T-shirts that said the football team wins and loses, but the vibes are undefeated.
That's exactly
And I
right.
was like, we may not win the game, but the vibes are undefeated.
I hate to admit this, but I was part of at that time, it was the longest losing streak in college athletics. We were 1-21 and had lost 21 consecutive games.
Oh, wow.
And part of that, 11 of those 21 losses were with Coach Holtz, who just recently passed away.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about Coach Holtz, patience is not his forte.
No.
So to go through 11 straight losses, that was hard on everybody,
Sure.
including him and probably his family too. But I was there my senior year. We were able to turn that around, experience a top 25 finish, play in the Outback Bowl against Ohio State, win that game, and then that launched me into coaching football in college. And that's actually what brought me to Texas
What position
to
did you
begin
play?
with. So I was an offensive lineman
Okay.
a lot of pounds ago. Got finished and said, I'm losing weight. I'm not staying this size.
Yeah, I wouldn't have pictured
I was
you
about
as
to
OL.
say, he's got kind of a wide receiver body now.
Yeah. So I immediately started running. You stop eating all the time. I was one of those guys that I had to eat like crazy just to maintain the weight that I was. And even then, I
'Cause
was the
you're tall.
smallest. Yeah,
You're
and I was
tall.
still the smallest on the offensive line
Really?
at that
What
point.
were you tipping the scales at
I
that
was
point?
like 280
Really?
at the highest. And so that was still small as an offensive
I'm,
lineman.
I'm about 280, just so you have reference.
Well, I'm just looking at him going, man, 280, because now you're like what?
Like 200 now.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bro.
So it's
wow.
What, 6'3", 6'4"?
yeah, 6'4".
Yeah.
So it's there's some days where I still I feel it.
Yeah.
My body feels the playing days.
Oh, yeah.
It hurts to get out of bed, getting out of the chair. People will laugh at me at school, like I'll get up and kind of grunt, and they're like, "You're
You got the
okay?"
old man
I'm like,
grunt?
"Yeah, I'm gonna be fine. Just give me a
So
second."
mid 40s somewhere, I'm guessing that's where you're at?
47.
Okay.
Oh man.
You only got 5 years on me. That's not too big of a deal.
No, not too bad. But
so how'd you transition out of coaching and then get into education for starters, and then faith-based education, which is a whole different category?
Yeah, so when I came to Texas, I was coaching in college. I was at West Texas A&M, had no desire to continue along the lines of teaching and coaching in high school.
You didn't want to be a buff any longer?
Well, I loved WT, but I wanted to stay in college coaching. So my days at WT, we still look back at those with a lot of fond memories. But God didn't have it in store for me to do that for a long period of time. So I was there for 2 years.
When was this?
This was in 2001 and 2002.
All right, okay.
And after the 2002 season, I had the privilege of one of the perks of the job. They certainly didn't pay you like you were full-time. They worked you like you were two people working full-time.
Right.
Yep.
But I was able to enroll in graduate school. And so my master's degree was completely paid for as a perk of the job. Yep.
Wow.
And so
good job, man.
Exactly. And
take
so
advantage of those opportunities.
I learned so much through that. I was able to receive my master's degree in education administration. The gentleman who was my advisor, he took a liking to me and allowed me to be creative with some of the courses and even the practicum experiences that they required of you. So here I am. I was 22, 23 years old, and I was in some classes and practicums with teachers who were teaching full-time, going to class at night, that had 20-plus years of experience. I was in classes with people who were already principals and leading schools, and they were trying to gain their superintendency certification. And so I got to be around some really awesome folks in those classes and learn a lot at an early age.
Was your undergraduate in education?
It was.
Okay.
It was. So
right.
I knew that at some point I would end up coaching is teaching. So I knew I was going to teach, but my thought was, I'll go into leadership on the athletic director's side of the house, and never had any thoughts of ever running a school, certainly not being a principal, and definitely not being a head of school or superintendent. And so God has a sense of humor. I remember telling my advisor, I'll never work at an elementary school. So can we come up with something different? And my first full-time job in administration was at an elementary school.
How about that?
So,
Love it.
But all that to say, I transitioned out of college athletics into coaching in high school through a friend of mine picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, our head coaching position is open. Can we talk to you about it? And I was young enough and naive enough to say, no, I'm not interested. And thankfully, he wouldn't stop. He called me back a few more times. And finally, I said, okay, I'm coming home to visit my parents over our spring break out here at WT. I'll stop by and let's have a conversation. Let's go to breakfast. And so by the end of that conversation, I remember going, okay, I need to at least pray about this. And so on the way back to Texas, just praying, asking the Lord what he wanted, it became really clear within the next week that at that time, Ben Lippen was the name of the school in Columbia, South Carolina, that's where God wanted me to be. And so I kind of reluctantly said, okay, Lord, I'll do that. And that was 2003, and I've been in Christian education ever since. And so I started in that role, teaching and coaching, moved into an assistant principal's job within the elementary school, and next thing you know, here I am in Texas as the head of school.
Okay, so that was back in South Carolina, right?
That was in South Carolina.
Okay. So you already have some familiarity with Texas. You lived here for a number of years. You got your graduate
Canyon.
degree.
In Canyon.
Yeah.
How do you
the metropolis.
Yeah, I know. Well, aside from what wrong way, ring rights, whatever, right there.
Right.
But the Canyon itself, there are a couple places that I would say I wouldn't mind living aside from McKinney. It's actually Canyon.
Really?
I love that area.
It is beautiful, especially if you enjoy being outside and you're okay with, going out to Palo Duro Canyon to hike and those sites. And the people there are great.
Yes.
And so it really was 2 really good years. We had the opportunity after we, left and start life and family and everything else. We always wanted to come back to Texas. My wife and I enjoyed it while we were here. I recruited in the DFW area. And so we said, we really like this area. If we ever had the opportunity, we would move back. And so my sister is a little bit to blame for that. She lives out in Keller towards Fort Worth, and she's been here for 10 years and is she's in the healthcare industry and works with children with cancer. And so had the opportunity to, when MCA opened, it was really a chance to be closer to family, closer to her. And so that's what drew us back here to Texas, was the opportunity at MCA and to be close with our family.
Well, I'm completely a homer, but I think McKinney's just a little bit better than Canyon.
I'm going to agree with you on that 100%.
McKinney has much more to offer, but that view.
If the human body is the state of Texas, McKinney is like the left bicep, and Canyon's like the blind side of your elbow.
My question to you is then, what's the heart?
Well, Austin, obviously.
Okay. All right.
I mean, just because that's where the capital is only. I'm not going to make any comments on the whole 6th Street, keep Austin weird kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Weird.
We certainly have less of a homeless problem here than Austin.
Absolutely.
We still have a homeless problem.
That's right.
But have you been to Austin recently? I know you have.
We were
you
there
and I
last
were there
week.
last week.
Last week we were there.
The homeless issue in Austin is
tough.
Folks, you want to complain about homelessness in McKinney, take a drive down to Austin, then come back and talk to me.
That's right.
So,
It's a whole different area and a different vibe. And we have fallen in love with McKinney. It didn't take long for us to really appreciate what we have here, for sure.
It was the job that brought you here.
It was. Okay. It was. And, God was in that from the very beginning. And we left to come here to visit McKinney and MCA, and both my wife and I were going, this is going to have to be a really special thing in order for us to leave Florida and where we were. I had been at the same school for 7 years, serving as the head of school. We'd made a lot of progress. It was a really incredible school. It was a part of a church. So we were surrounded with some great community. She was leading a ministry there in Jacksonville that was really unique, and they were doing some incredible things. And so we came to the interview almost going, okay, MCA is really going to have to, they're going to really have to show us that this is a place to be.
Yeah.
We got on the plane on Sunday night to go home, and we were going, okay, God, we would really like to be at McKinney and MCA.
So did you find them through an executive search, or was it just organic? How did that work?
Yeah, a little bit of both. When I say that, we are accredited by ACSI. And so there are times in which the leadership of ACSI who I have some connections with, will say, hey,
play a little matchmaker.
Yeah, there's a really good opportunity you might be interested in. And so that's how I learned of MCA initially. But the act of applying and connecting with board members, I knew nobody at the school. Okay. And so there was no connections there whatsoever. So it was really cool to see how God took that from not knowing anyone to, hey, come be our next head of school.
As we said offline, God does whatever he pleases.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure.
He doesn't have to ask anybody for permission.
Yep.
Right.
So that's cool.
The hard part is reminding myself of that sometimes, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So what was it about MCA first? And what was it about McKinney second? Because obviously you, Heath Nivens, the person, is a lot more than just head of school of MCA.
Right.
Obviously you're a husband first, a dad second, a leader in other capacities beyond your professional role. So I know those two answers may not be exactly the same. What was it about, maybe just one or two things about MCA, and then one or two things about the city of McKinney? Because those two things are self-contained, each one of them.
Absolutely. So I don't know if it's the athletic side of me or just how I was raised by my mom and dad and our family, but I have always loved a challenge. And if I get to a point to where I'm not challenged and I'm not growing and there's not a goal to pursue, I get bored. And boredom's not good for me, because then I start putting my hands on things that, I have no business doing, and other people get mad at me for doing it. So like I said, we had really grown the school there in Florida, had achieved some pretty unique things. But when I came here and met with our board, number one, we have some board members who have been part of MCA since the very founding of the school 33 years ago. And that was impressive to see that level of commitment and longevity from them. Number two, to see the desire to not just grow student-wise, but to grow the school academically, spiritually, the buildings on our campus and our facility, our enrollment growth. That was that stuck out to both me and my wife really quickly was the desire to grow MCA, to strengthen MCA, to broaden our focus as a school. And so, I love a challenge, and I love that opportunity. And so that was one of the things that really, to me, resonated with me personally. Then as we drove around McKinney, obviously, it's beautiful. And it just so happened to be also while the Christmas parade and all the festivities were going on downtown.
Home for the holidays.
So my wife goes, are we in a Hallmark movie?
Yes, exactly.
You want to talk about the stars aligning.
Listen,
there is nothing like that lighted Christmas parade.
If you knew her, you talk about Heath at home, Heath at school. Okay, so Hallmark Channel is always going at Christmas. She loves a parade.
Yes.
Christmas is like we have to show some restraint and call out decorations because we just don't have enough place to store that. So for her to see that, the board couldn't have arranged a better time for people to come out for an interview. Because when she saw that, she was like, we need to be here.
I wonder if they intentionally, it was like,
let's get them.
Let's do it. They did their homework. They did a good job. I'll say it like that.
Oh, man. So you've been at MCA for 4 years. You said you like a challenge. When you got here, what was the challenge? And maybe let me pry a little bit.
Yeah.
What felt like it needed fixing first? Because as a head of school, obviously, you are not necessarily the hands and feet. You're more the eyes and ears.
Right.
You're the visionary. You're not necessarily the integrator who actually gets stuff done. You're just the chief cheerleader. You're the chief eyes and ears.
Yeah.
How did you start having positive impact when you hit the ground?
That's a great question. You know, a really unfair question was asked of me during the interview process, or at least I thought so anyways. And they said, okay, what are you going to build? Gym, football stadium, or upper school classroom building if we bring you on as the head of school? And I'm going, this is the first time I've ever stepped foot on your campus. I've never seen the interactions of day to day, but just the fact that you're asking me and saying we need to build these three things, what's it going to be? That was impressive. I was excited to hear that.
How'd you answer that question?
Yeah, so we know the Texas.
That feels like a gotcha.
The Texas answer is going to be
well. So on our campus, our Student Life Center is the hub of everything. And so when they took me around the tour, they were explaining, okay, in our Student Life Center, it's our competition gymnasium. It's where we do chapel. It's where our plays are held. We have lunch in here every day. We have PE in here every day. And so I was at a school where we had 2 different gymnasiums and a separate cafeteria. And so trying to do all that happens within just whether it's a Christian school, a public school, or a private school, to have the facilities that you need to pull off all the needs of the students. My answer was, you need a gymnasium for no other reason than to provide a little bit of just functionality and flow around campus to get away from all the constraints within the SLC. I said, but academics are pretty important as well. Without knowing the full, I haven't seen the full report of where we are academically. You can make the case that would be, if not the top, at least a very close second. Interestingly enough, we ended up in our capital campaign that we started soon after coming on board. That was our approach, was to do both the gym and the classroom buildings at the same time. As you both know, the cost of construction now to build brand new is not the most feasible.
No.
And so we did make the hard choice of saying that we've got to have a place for the growth that we're seeing for our students to be within the classrooms. We want to elevate some of our academic programs, specifically our science, our engineering program, and even what we're doing technologically on our campus. And so our STEM building and our multipurpose building ended up winning out. But my hope is that very soon we're able to turn around and do a gymnasium and do a stadium and do some of the things that need to be done on our campus so that our kids have that full K through 12 one campus experience that truly sets you apart.
So you need some financial loaves and fishes at this point, right?
That's right. That's probably the most it's a fun part of the job, but it's the most difficult part of the job in that sometimes I find that I am part academician, part trash man. You'll pick up anything and do everything around campus.
Yep.
You're a chief fundraiser. So you do a little bit of everything, but I do enjoy it. And it has been a positive challenge, and I have loved every minute of it.
So what's the total head count on the students?
So this year we have 725 students on our campus.
And that's K through 12?
Pre-K through 12.
Okay. On the fundraising, just out of curiosity, what's the mix between organizational giving, like corporations, other organizations, versus individual or family giving? You have any idea what the breakdown is?
That's a great point. A lot of folks would make the assumption that as a 501c3 organization, there's a lot of private businesses and companies lined up ready to give because of the tax benefits. The truth is, sometimes being a Christian organization works against you because there's certain rules and regulations within those companies. And so the bulk of our funding, roughly 90% when it comes to fundraising, is going to come from moms and dads who are part of the school community, who are sold out to MCA, and who believe in what we're doing enough to say, okay, on top of tuition, I'll also make a donation or a commitment to give, for the next 3 to 5 years to see some of these things come to fruition.
So if you're looking to make a big dent in some of these capital campaigns for other plans, like a new gym, like a new football stadium, increasing that percentage of corporate and organizational giving to maybe 15 or 20 would make a huge dent.
Absolutely. And we're thankful for that. We do have some extremely generous folks locally here in McKinney, and even parents that they own their own business or have strong connections, as an executive or leader in a business that do support us and help us along the way. But to your point, even just a small 5 to 10% shift can make huge dividends.
Do you guys have anyone who's leading out the grant writing initiative?
We have a director of development. Her name is Narcy Dreff. She does a phenomenal job of connecting with our families and leading all fundraising efforts, including grant writing and even reaching out to members of the community.
Yeah, I'm sorry to go down the fundraising path so deeply. I just kind of spitballing here. I'm thinking, there's so many different grants that are available from all these different entities, whether it's, city, state, local, or even faith-based entities that have grants sitting there, ready to be divvied up for applicants. So, I'm sure you had a good answer for that. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud here.
No, that's a good point, because there's a lot. You'll be surprised how many are there. And we've been fortunate enough to be awarded some of those. We've applied for a lot and been told no more than times that I would like to be.
Oh.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's part of it, right?
That's right.
You just keep going, keep writing.
That's right. Okay, so, kind of tied to that, because there are people that are listening that this might be their first real deep dive or even introduction into MCA, because, they're just out there in the community and they have no idea, what exactly goes on over there. Tell us about what can they expect the impact of their donation to the school. What does that do for the school in terms of student life, the academic rigors, the athletic, the social? What can they expect that is going to produce from the school?
Outcomes and results, I think is what Fred is asking.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me answer that from the perspective of what we attempt to produce on a daily basis. The very first thing that we pride ourselves on is a partnership. It is never, hey, drop your children off at 8 o'clock and we're going to give you a perfect Jimmy or Sally by 3 p.m.
Doesn't happen.
We're not going to ever make that promise or do that. But what we are going to do is partner with like-minded families to be able to say, hey, we're going to work really hard in conjunction with you on academic preparation. We're going to work really, really hard in being intentional about the things that they learn at the different grade levels to get them ready for college. But then last but definitely not least, and the most important, we're going to partner with you on the spiritual development of your children. The things that you are going to hear, the things that your kids are going to be taught both in the classroom, on the athletic field, in chapel, they're going to echo the things that you're hearing at home and in church, and they're going to undergird and support the efforts that you're making to raise your kids in the love and admonition of the Lord. And so that's what we attempt to do there. But then you're going to get this really strong sense of community. So you've got the partnership with the school, but then you've got the community side too, where there are deep relationships that are formed It's always amazing to me when I get to meet alumni, some of which said, yeah, I met my best friend who's now my husband, or I met my wife, or I've got this group of guys and we still go on an annual boys trip and go skiing every year, and we are at MCA together. And we started together in kindergarten, and we still maintain that relationship, now as young professionals. So that's another piece that you're going to get is that community. And last but not least, is the educational outcome. We are a college prep school. Doesn't mean that we're perfect, and it certainly doesn't mean that every kid's going to get into Harvard or Yale, but we are going to make sure that they are prepared for success in college, and that we really want them to have every opportunity to get into the first college of their choice. For a lot of our kids, that's Texas A&M, a lot of the great state schools, and then others. They'll head to the Northeast for some prestigious academic schools, and then others will head west, and others continue in Christian Ed as well. And so we want them from the moment that they step on that college campus to be prepared academically, but then also be ready to live for the Lord while they're there at college.
Okay, so is it the just general expectation, not expectation, but is that the main focus, is that every student who graduates will move on to college? Because in today's society, we see a lot of people who are brilliantly successful who either never went to college or actually went to college for something and now are doing something completely different.
Absolutely. I think when the school first started 33 years ago, they would have said unequivocally, yes, that is the path that we're on. But just within the last, to your point, 5 to 10 years, the landscape has changed tremendously. And there are some careers and some pathways that require a college degree, but there's plenty of others. If you've got the grit, the knowledge, the determination, and you're willing to, sit under someone and learn and get your hands dirty, you can go right out right away and have plenty of opportunity. So that's shifted a little. So it's not necessarily every kid has to go to college. It's that every kid will be prepared academically for college if they choose to go. Like, for instance, in this year's graduating class, we have 2 kids. They've been accepted into colleges and universities, but they've made the choice. I have the opportunity to go down this pathway of certification, and I'm going to open a business. As soon as I'm finished with that in a year, I'm opening my own business and going to work. And those kids they'll do very well for themselves, and they have the wherewithal to make that happen. Others will pursue, like, for instance, we have another young man who's going to go into the Marine Corps. He could have gone to college, was accepted into several universities, but he wants to serve his country, and so we're thankful for that, and we're going to celebrate that just like as if he were to get into the college or university of his choice, because I know when he gets there to Parris Island for his boot camp experience, he's going to be different. He's going to stand out, or at least he should, because he's been at MCA.
Okay, so in regards to the not traditional four-year school, have you guys made any sort of connection with Collin College?
We have, but we've not been able to open any doors yet. So we've heard of their programs. We've been able to connect and have toured. The hard part for us is we've done some we offer dual credit opportunities.
Yeah.
Our accrediting agency says, hey, for every dual credit opportunity that you offer your kids, you've got to make sure that they're getting the biblical worldview side of the house. And so it's really hard to say, hey, we want you to go away to the campus of Collin College, and then, oh, by the way, just because you're taking that college course, come back and you need another 45, 50 minutes of instruction on, okay, let's view that course through the lens of Scripture. And so it's been hard to work that in with what they're requiring us to do. But, I'm not always one to take no for an answer. So we're trying to find some different pathways of how we do that creatively.
And, related to that, I wanted to ask, you said it there that, this one student who is, he knows that his calling is to go to the Marines. And you said, but he's going to stand out. He's going to be different. How do you address that overall in the school culture? Because the world is out there and, every day, I hear things that just seem crazier and further outlandish. Yeah. How do you can't insulate the students from that and just say that doesn't exist, look over here. Yeah. What is your approach to that?
We're blessed with some very, very, very strong teachers who understand that cultural pull. We spend a lot of time with our staff on how do you address these things? And how do you bring those cultural conversations and discussions into class in a way that it doesn't take up your whole class period, but it also engages your kids and has an opportunity to open up God's word and ask the question, is there anything we can learn about what we're facing today and what sometimes the world, what we're arguing over or pursuing? So we're blessed with great teachers, but then we also do a good job we have a founder series of chapel speakers that come in. We've had Dr. Carson has been a guest on our campus. We've had lots of folks from in and around the DFW area, folks from the East Coast who have come in to speak to our kids and challenge them. And every one of those has been with the idea of we want you to own your faith, not to just walk out with what mom and dad have always said, which isn't. It's a battle that I think anyone who follows the Lord. I was raised in a Christian home. There was a clear moment where it became my faith, my walk with the Lord, my relationship with Christ. And so we want that for our kids. And so our Founder Series speaks to that, and our speakers that come in do a really good job of trying to encourage kids in preparation, not for them to just own their faith, but to also equip them with how do you defend your faith as well, because there's a lot of folks that are ready to tear that down.
Yep.
And so I feel like we've done a really good job in that area.
Is that Ben Carson?
Ben Carson, yes, sir.
Okay.
And that was phenomenal. We were able to have all of our students, K through 12, there for a visit with him and his wife. He had just launched a program called the Little Patriots, and we were able to spend some time with him. And who you see and what you see is truly, it's his character, and he walks the walk and talks the talk for sure. And it was phenomenal to have him as a visitor on campus.
Man, I would have loved to have been a fly on that wall.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun that day. A lot of preparation went into that, obviously. But you look back at that.
What was that advanced team like?
I'm telling you, there were a lot of conversations about, interestingly enough, not so much the security side, but his wife goes, listen, if you don't take Ben by the hand and get him from point A to point B,
never make it.
He won't make it in time. So you got to have somebody who's strong enough to say, okay, Dr. Carson, let's go. We got to go over here. And sure enough, they had their own team of doing that, but he did. If you were in a conversation and he took photos with anybody who wanted to take photos, he had conversations during that time. And eventually his team did have to pull him away. Hey, we've got this other obligation that we've got to get to. You've got to go. But he invested time with our kids, with our parents who were there. And so that was the biggest issue, was how do we make sure he gets from the library at this introductory breakfast over to the student body to do the conversation with our students and to share with our kids there during chapel in time so that he's got the full slate to be where he needs to be next. So that was interesting.
When I think about the issues that are affecting education in general, but certainly higher education, I don't know if there's a bigger one right now than the oncoming innovation of artificial intelligence, and especially generative AI and even agentic AI. I personally, it's just my opinion, I think it is going to forever change what higher education looks like, because for generations, for hundreds of years, the entire point of spending 4 years at an institution of higher education was the acquisition of knowledge and the acquisition of experience and wisdom. And with AI being what it is now today, as we record in 2026, and certainly, I mean, a month at a time, it's just evolving so fast.
Absolutely. How
is MCA? How are you? How's your executive leadership team, your board? How are you guys getting in front of what is this going to mean for our students next year, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Because, you know, the kids that are in your middle school right now, by the time they graduate, higher education as it is today will be irrevocably different. And I mean, in a lot of cases, like almost every institution that doesn't have some sort of large endowment that's not part of a larger system is underwater. They're losing money every year. They see declining enrollment every year. They're not able to fund programs. They're losing professorships. They're losing student services. They're losing different program. The Title IX sports are getting cut because there's just no money for them anymore. That, I think, is going to be a huge challenge for higher education that obviously MCA can be thinking about as you prepare your students to enter the world within that context in a future state. I know that's a lot I just laid on you. What are your thoughts in general as how MCA can prepare and adjust and stay current with the evolution of AI as it continues to change so many parts of life?
It's interesting. We started our capital campaign for the STEM building with the idea in mind that there are jobs that exist today that our students who are in high school right now, when they graduate from college, they won't exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And some are going to be brand new that aren't even on the market now that only these kids are going to have the skill set for. So how do we prepare them for that? I don't have the largest budget, but what I can do is provide the space and the opportunity to learn to think critically. And so that's been one of the big key areas. The second is, as we look at, a lot of schools educationally it's a question of, do you allow AI or do you not? For me, I think it's much broader than that. And we have looked at it from the standpoint of, we want our students to know what it looks like, feels like, and means to have a great record of digital citizenship, so that when you are interacting online, in social media, with AI, that you are doing it in a way that glorifies Christ. You're doing it in a way that lifts others up. You're doing it in a way that encourages others instead of a self-serving focus. Mm-hmm. And so what we have found, especially over the last 2 years specifically, is that there are times we do want to open the door for students to have access to technology and access to AI. But there's also the time where we want to be able to close that off and go, okay, this assignment, what we're asking you to do, we want it straight from your brain, from the knowledge that you have. We want you to think critically, take the facts that you have, and now share with us what you do know. And so our teachers have been able to develop an AI scale for each assignment, major assignment of, hey, it's wide open. You go for it, use it as much as you want, all the way down to
AI scale?
Yes, sir.
I love that.
So they've said, hey, this one is wide open. This one is a no-go. So it's
Is that the first time I've applauded?
Never heard of it, yes.
I don't think I've ever stopped and applauded in all of our episodes. That is brilliant.
Well,
love it.
Don't ask me how well we're doing on that yet. Now, so the thought's great. We're still learning how to go along with that. And then take a 12-year-old sixth grader and try to tell them, okay, this is an AI red zone. And that's almost like a little bit of,
but it's so aware.
Yeah,
so many people in our society are taking an ostrich approach to AI, where they are just sticking their head all the way in the sand and going la, 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 and hoping it gets better. I'm going to look right here at my camera. It's not going to get better. This is like people that were resisting the internet in the late 90s. It's not going away. It is a part of life. If it makes you uncomfortable, I don't know how else to say this. Get over it. Get comfortable. Figure out how to use it for your life, in your job, with your family, with your friends, because AI ain't going anywhere.
Okay, so you used a key phrase a couple times there that kind of threw you back to classroom days.
Okay.
Critical thinker.
Oh, man.
Now, you've been in the classroom now for how many years?
Yeah, I've been in education for over 20.
Over 20. With AI just recently, just on the tail end of that, do you find that the appeal, just the joy of learning is getting to be a more scarce commodity, and the challenge of critical thinking, from my perspective, not having been out of the classroom for
50 years.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like the Stone Age now, but let's see, I left the classroom,
Fred's actually 74.
2005, yeah. Some Asian
his Filipino complexion keeps him looking young.
That's right.
I was going to say, you hide it well, Fred.
That's right, yeah, until I get up and then you hear me, creak and groan.
Yeah.
But at 2005, I mean, the computers were in the classroom, but, smartphones really weren't prevalent in people's hands. But from what I've seen is that students nowadays don't approach education the same exact way. Like when I was in high school, boy, I loved the challenge of learning, of understanding why does this happen. But from what I've seen, it looks like we're the overall moving away from that. And so how, not only are there the cultural pressures that are many times antithetical to, the Bible, but there's also just the educational pressures of the truth is that, right now, if James or I need to know something about our industry or how we do things, I'm right on YouTube University.
Right.
I'm on Google or, asking the chat,
Or
how do I get,
Not to digress, but I use AI every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So materially, in the practice of my job as a dad, as a husband, what's the answer to this thing? And my wife and I are sitting on the couch talking about it. It's like, I don't know. Let me ask ChatGPT real quick.
Yeah. So, school education in general, what do you see, 10 years from now?
I'm going to go back and answer one.
And the critical thinking part.
The critical thinking part first. And I need to preface it by saying, okay, MCA parents, do not email me and tell me how much you agree or disagree or take this personally.
If you want to address them, this is your camera right here.
You talk to them.
You can do what I just did and look right into that camera.
Please don't email me. We are at a very driven school academically, and people do care about the final result and where my child is going to go to college, and are they going to get into the school of their choice? And so a lot of times what will happen is the grade supersedes everything.
Yes.
My kid's got to have an A. The students feel that pressure.
Yes.
And so that has hurt the classroom experience. To your point, it's turned into, I just need to know what I need to know to get my A and move on.
Yes.
And then I'll do the same thing when the next evaluation comes up and you get to the end of the year and you're sitting down with your kids and you're asking them about what they know and you're exploring that, only to find out it's pretty shallow and they didn't gain a whole lot. So from a critical thinking perspective, I think the thing that we have to do, it really rises and falls on the back of our teachers. And that is you've got to engage every kid that walks in the door of that classroom. And, every kid learns differently right now. iPads haven't helped that. Our attention spans have shrunk tremendously. And so, a teacher really does have a difficult job. They've got to get that content across, but they've got to be prepared to get that across 5 different ways. And sometimes it's a big production. And your best teachers are just great actors sometimes because they're trying to, touch every kid and every learning modality in the room. So it really does fall on that teacher. But then also getting to a point to where you're helping the kid to understand that the ultimate goal in this is not the numerical grade that you walk away with on the assignment. It's what you learn. That is one of the things that I love about our school is that our kids get the opportunity to put those things into practice, whether it is, like for instance, in our senior year, we do an econ fair. They have to start at the beginning of the year, they start the process of forming their own business. And by the Friday before Thanksgiving, when it's Grandparents' Day, they take that business, they set up their table, and they get to sell their product to all those grandparents and all the parents and all the teachers and the lower school kids that are walking around campus that day. And it's taken them everywhere from business launch to taxes to marketing. And they're bringing in money and they're paying out money for all the different elements of that, from table placement to advertising and those types of things. So it gives them a real life experience. Our kids get to go on a week-long missions trip as well, to where the things that they're hearing and seeing and learning within the history class, the Bible class, within that chapel experience, they're getting to walk that out for that missions week. So I think giving our kids the opportunity to live out the things they're learning in the classroom is the most important element of that critical thinking. Looking at it long term, where it's going to be, if I had the answer to that, I probably would have my own podcast and not be the head of school at MCA. I will share, though, that for us, what we want to be able to do is not be so locked into, well, we've always done it this way, that we can't provide what's best for our kids. We're learning and seeing right now that with all the access that kids have, a college degree doesn't hold the same weight in their mind as it did when we were in school.
Right.
Totally agree.
And so what we've done to offset that is next year we will start an entrepreneurial program. And so the kids will have the opportunity to, again,
The entrepreneurs over here are like, yes.
they'll learn that grit. They'll learn how to solve problems. They'll learn that, hey, I see a problem. I can start a business to resolve that, and there's money to
I
be
got
made.
2 guest
That's
lectures for you
There
right
you
now.
go. I'm going to sign you up.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
go.
say less.
Yes,
So trying to
absolutely.
do those types of things, that engages kids. That provides them the opportunity to just get beyond the normal classroom experience, to be involved at a level much deeper in the learning process, but then hopefully they walk out with skills, whether they go to college or whether they go through that certification program or they launch their own business,
Yep.
they're ready to be successful in that.
The thing that stands out to me most about what you were talking about early in that monologue there was the absolute importance of having alignment with the parents and the professionals that work at MCA.
Yep.
And it starts with the parents, right?
It does.
It starts with mom and dad having the right attitude about the desirable outcomes, the desirable results of their kids' time at MCA. And, you know, our kids are in public education. We're in McKinney ISD. And we've seen their peers, my kids' peers, so many of them obviously come from families that have a you better teach my kid kind of attitude instead of a collaboration, instead of an ownership of 2/3 of the process. Because last time I checked, that kid is on your campus for about 7 hours.
Absolutely. You know, we say all the time, we have the opportunity to influence a kid, especially if your child's in upper school. So for us, that's grades 9 through 12, and they're playing a sport. During season, our teachers, our coaches are going to interact with your kids more in waking hours than
Than
you
we do.
are at
That's
home.
right.
Yeah.
And so that partnership is so crucial. But to your point, I think COVID brought this out more than ever before.
Oh, yeah.
Because of our own fault within the educational industry, it cracked the door open, and all of a sudden, in some schools, moms and dads are going, wait a minute, what's going on? How did this happen? What's being taught? Why weren't we aware of this?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say we didn't at MCA, but as educators, we can be our own worst enemy sometimes. But I will say to any parent who may be in a situation where maybe they're struggling with a teacher or a coach or an administrator, I will just say that person is not the enemy. Find a way to partner with them, because nobody goes into education to put your kid in a corner, to put their thumb on them and to hold them back. If you will partner with that teacher, that coach, that administrator, it will go a long way. And that's whether you're at my school or any MISD school or school back in Florida. It doesn't matter. A great partnership will cure a lot of issues.
And I can tell you from personal experience, the relief, the exhale almost. Because every year at the beginning of the year, when we do the whole meet the teacher thing in McKinney ISD, I make a point of finding that teacher, taking them aside for a second and just saying, hey, I'm James. Look, nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
I just want you to know we've got your back.
Yep.
We are not your adversary. We are looking at this from the position of this is a team effort. This is collaboration. Please know that me and Allison are never going to come yell at you for something that you did in good faith to teach our kid. And we've done that every year of them being in public education. And the relief on that teacher's face of going, okay, they're one of the good ones.
Yeah,
Good.
James, I can't tell you how appreciated that is at any school across the country today to know that I've got an advocate in this mom or dad.
Because it's mom and dad's job to raise the kid.
Right.
Like the teacher is the hired help. It's mom and dad's job. The teacher sorry. I know we're at the end of the episode.
You sound like you were sitting at our dinner table the other night.
Such a big thing for me, because this is how the next generation learns what normal is.
That's exactly
when
right.
mom and the way that mom and dad talk to an educator is the way that kid is going to talk to their boss.
Right.
And it's just like, ooh, mom and dad, you are the example. You are shaping that kid's version of normal.
Right. Well,
that
and even
that is so critical.
Even to your point, the number of stories that I hear from colleges who visit our campus when they come to do college fairs and recruitment opportunities with kids, you can even tell it's changed on the college campus. And these admissions representatives they're also trying to get a feel for what are our parents like, because they can share some horror stories of moms and dads who have called them about the admissions process or when their kid's there in college. And we're like, we don't talk to
that
moms
is
and dads.
a legal adult.
Yes.
Mom, dad, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
No one asked for your input. It's just like, oh.
So that is one of the that's a big change too along the path in education, and I am grateful for the partnership that we do enjoy with our parents. We're not perfect. I share that with every prospective family that comes in. I can almost guarantee you we're going to mess up at least once, if not more, in your first year. It's going to happen. The difference is how we get to work through that.
Yeah. I came on kind of strong there. I felt like I should apologize for being a little bit too direct.
No, that's legit. Well, you have children that are in this age bracket. I'm trying to relate back to when my kids were that age, or when I was in the school, and but you talk about I'm not of course we believe I'm look right at the camera there. We believe that our listening audience aren't the ones who storm into the school and become that viral video that we've all seen that seems
absolutely.
to be, millions of views. And I'm like, this has got to be staged. I always say that to myself because there's no way
someone would crash out like that.
A grown adult would go and behave and speak in that manner. But
and that's why I felt like I needed to apologize, because I'm railing on principle here. And it's just like, James, remember your audience. Your audience is not the people that are going to act a fool like that. Because people like that don't listen to podcasts like this.
No. They need to for homework. That's your assignment. Figure a way out for those folks to listen to this podcast.
They're watching 3 hours of TikTok a day.
That's right.
So, okay. Anything we haven't talked about that you wanted to? Because we're right at an hour, and I know our listening audience gets a little bit when we run long. So is there anything we haven't covered that you wanted to?
No, sir. I think you've done a great job of asking all the important educational questions, but then also, too, just giving me the opportunity to share the good news of MCA and the things that are going on across our campus.
I just think it is so cool for McKinney to have MCA as an option, as an asset for folks that, for whatever reason, aren't feeling like McKinney ISD is their cup of tea. Mm-hmm. And, whether that's a religious choice or a curriculum choice, I think it's cool that there's an option. Because I know Cornerstone is another option. I'm not. I don't have any personal contact with anybody over there. Hey, if anybody is listening from Cornerstone, you want to have a conversation similar to this, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to talk with you and see if there's a way to make it happen. I just don't personally have any knowledge of Cornerstone. But that being said, I think it's a really good thing that the people of McKinney have an option.
That's right.
I do too. I grew up in public school, graduated from public school in all areas of my education. And so I never look, and our staff doesn't either, never looks at the public school as the enemy. We're in this together for the betterment of our community, our state, the United States, and our world. And so we have the opportunity to partner with McKinney ISD in several different areas and love that opportunity. But to your point, the one thing that I love about our campus is each and every day I get the opportunity, and our teachers get the opportunity with our kids to boldly open up God's Word and to say, let's take a look at what God's Word says about what we're studying. And I'm passionate about that. Like I said to you at the beginning, I never thought that I would be sitting here having an opportunity to lead a school, especially a Christian school. But I'm thankful because that's become a passion of mine and really God's call on my life. And so I'm thankful for it. I see the fruit of that in so many kids every year, but I also see it in my son. So it does make you grateful as a parent as well.
Mm-hmm. No.
Hit him with that last question, Fred. Here
okay. This is like the pop quiz.
All right.
Who would win in a fight between a giant polar bear and a great white shark? The battle royale happens in a body of water 6 feet deep. There are no edges, no shoreline, no shallow, no sandbar. It's just a body of water, infinite. Who wins that fight?
I'm going polar bear.
Polar bear, really?
Okay.
Polar bear.
Why is that?
Do explain.
Yes.
Number one is I sit there and I think of that battle in my mind, I'm thinking of what that looks like. You mentioned body of water, no boundaries. Yes, the shark can swim away, but in 6 feet of water, I think the polar bear is going to fare a little bit better. Mm-hmm. That polar bear in my mind was probably about 6'4", 6'5", maybe my size. So
he's about 12 feet tall.
Yeah, he's got the opportunity to be a little bit taller than. So having the chance to breathe and not be under the water, and with that power, I'm going polar bear.
All right. There you go. Totally destroyed my if you lived in Florida approach.
Oh no.
You're the first person.
Am I the first one to go
first
polar bear?
The first Floridian to go polar bear.
That's right.
Okay.
Most other Floridians. Have you ever had a shark encounter?
No.
Yeah.
Not close.
Okay. Yeah, aside from, going to SeaWorld and seeing the, sharks. Okay.
Yeah. But never being in the water and then all of a sudden.
Yes.
There they are.
Yes.
So
that's an experience.
For folks that want to learn more about MCA, obviously this time of year you don't have any sort of enrollment or those conversations. What's the calendar look like for folks that are interested about learning more for the, let me see, what would be 27, 28 academic year?
That's difficult to even think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll start the process for that actually in the fall, in October of next year, and they are more than welcome. Obviously, our website is a great place to get started.
You get on a list to get reminded and all that.
That's exactly right. You can sign up for one of those tours. You can tour individually. You can come to an info session where our principals are going to be there to give you a tour of the school to tell you more about their specific division. But we'll start that process in October, and excited to see who God brings our way for the future at MCA.
Well, he is Heath Nivens, not Givens, but Nivens, and he's the head of school at McKinney Christian Academy. This has been another episode of the McKinney Podcast. We celebrate what makes us unique by nature. Check it out next time, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all take care. Thanks again for listening to and watching the McKinney Podcast. We drop a brand new episode every Monday morning. We'd love to connect with you and hear your thoughts, suggestions, and guest recommendations. You can message us on Facebook or send an email to us at mail@mckinneypodcast.com. This entire production is a passion project for James and Fred and our lovely wives, Elizabeth and Allison. We're so grateful to have you along for the journey. We look forward to seeing you again next week and hopefully in person around town. That's all for now, ladies and gentlemen. Make it a great day.